So I'm out here on a nice open big piece of land, and behind me you can see what is the preparations of an outdoor cannabis grow in the making. And I decided I wanted to make a video on how to support large outdoor cannabis plants throughout the season. Now, it's a little rainy and windy and chilly out, but I'm not going to let that stop me, considering this is out here. But to begin the video, I'll just describe what you're seeing behind me here. So, depending on where you're living, you may be limited to the number of cannabis plants you're allowed to grow, whether it's indoors or outdoors. In this case, where I'm located, growers are allowed to grow outdoors, but a minimal allowed amount of plants. And this grower here has utilized that rule, that implemented rule, and kind of used it to his advantage. Now, I can vouch for you here and say that in order to grow a year's worth of cannabis and not have to buy your own once the whole year, you only really need 1 to 2 plants if you know what you're doing. Trust me. And that's what I'm going to try to break down in this video, is how you can grow 1 to 2 plants of your own that are big enough and bountiful and yield enough to last you the whole year. So what you see here is just normal wood stacking pallets on the ground, and at the corners of the pallets you can see there are 8-foot bamboo stakes that have been beaten into the ground. And if you look closely, I'll bring the camera in here at a moment, but you can see that there's tons of zip ties around this, and that's because they've been used. But what you do, these stakes are here, it's meant to act as a supporting system using what's known as trellis netting. It's basically this white roped net with squares in it, and you cut it to the length you want, and I would string it up here and attach it to this one, and you'd run it all the way around in a square shape. Now, the cannabis plant, once it's brought outdoors, would be put in the center and transplanted into quite a large pot, because that is one of the main tricks in growing these large, all year lasting cannabis plants. But you'd get the plant in a large pot, preferably a smart pot or something like that, and in this case it's not in the ground, it's raised up off the ground by these pallets because they're grown in pots. But you get the plant in here, and what this trellis acts as is when the cannabis plant begins to veg out really hard and stretch, and as flowering nears, the plant will grow through the squares of that net, and it will come all out through here and be all bound up into the net itself. I could honestly provide a picture if I have one. If not, I won't be able to, but it will grow through all this trellis netting, and when the colas and flowers begin to gain weight, and it gets really heavy, usually with a large plant and long colas like that, they'd start to lean and fall and could honestly snap if they weren't supported. But with this trellising system, it holds the plant tight in this cozy little, basically, skeleton, and wind, heavy buds, rain cannot make the plant fall apart, and it's able to support itself much better. And not to mention that before the cannabis plant is integrated into this trellis support system, it's already had support with tomato cages, bamboo tripod type things where you're tying branches around and just keeping the plant, keeping its equilibrium right, you know what I mean? Keeping the shape of it a nice globular shape. So before I end this, because I feel like I've described it pretty well, I'll just give you a little better look around of what exactly it is. So you got the pallets and the 8-foot stakes. And here are those zip ties I was talking about. This is what you use to bind the trellis netting to the stakes and run it all around the frame. But honestly, if you want to grow large outdoor cannabis plants and have them safely supported from wind, rain, heavy buds, which you want, I highly recommend investing in a bamboo trellising support system, because with a little bit of research on the crazy big time growers, they're all using that. If they're growing outdoors, many of them are using this trellising system. So if you're into outdoor growing, try it out, research it. Well, if you're into growing big plants rather than tons of little ones, if that's your thing, I recommend checking out trellising. So I hope this video helped in a way for some people, and I will be back with more. Thank you.